Remind yourself that we're not perfect. Give yourself permission to fail, to mess up, because it's okay. I know you're probably like hearing about me and listening to me talk, and you're like, oh, she's got a perfect wife. Nope, not at all. I promise you, like, the things that I've done have not come easy. Mr. Arnold asked me, how do I do all this? And, sometimes I stay up late, I know what time the babies go to bed, and it's a sacrifice I make, or I wake up early. Give yourself permission to mess up. It's okay. But I think at the end of the day, if you know that you've tried your hardest, you can look back and be satisfied with that.
Welcome to St. Louis in Tune, where we size up current and historic events involving people, places, and things in areas such as the arts, crime, education, employment, faith, finance, food, history, housing, humor, justice, and sports. Our weekly podcast gives you the edge to live a more informed life. We discuss more than just St. Louis as we connect the gateway city to our country's current cultural fabric and lives.
And then here's one that goes perfect with your guest that you brought in with us today, which you'll tell everyone about. National Working Moms Day.
Oh, my.
And she's
it's
doing
perfect for her.
It is. It is National Working Moms Day.
This mom, she's incredible.
Yeah.
I don't know where she gets the energy to do what she does.
That's why I was reading all about her, and this is a perfect day for her.
It is.
It is.
Dr. Delene Muchalak, she is affectionately known as Dr. Mom. She's a mother, a wife, a physician, a best-selling author, speaker, coach, entrepreneur. She was the Ms. CEO Author of the Year in 2019. She's dual board certified in internal medicine and pediatrics, the whole gamut, from the cradle to the grave. She's, I love this word, Mark, a mompreneur.
A mompreneur.
A mompreneur.
Oh, man.
And she's the mom of the Tripsies, Triplets. So if you thought one was bad enough, two was really going to give you the run for the money, three to get ready, I guess four's the show.
Wow.
But her husband's an amazing surgeon. She's an international best-selling author, motivational wellness speaker, personal development coach, creator and host of the Dr. Mom Show. Dee, welcome to St. Louis in Tune.
Thank you. So excited to be here, especially on this day.
Oh, yeah. Well, we're honored to have you on this day like that. Give us your background. You're not originally from the States.
I'm not. So I was born in Guyana, South America, best country after the United States, of course.
Of course.
Just give you a little lesson. Guyana is the only English-speaking country in South America.
Wow.
So when I moved here, people would say, your English is so great. And I'd be like, yeah, because it's my first language.
Really?
So there's 3 Guyanas. So British Guyana, which is my Guyana that claimed independence. But then there's French Guyana and Dutch Guyana, which is now Suriname. But we are on the map because of the Jim Jones massacre with the cult.
In Jonesburg.
That's right. And then, of course, we have the longest single-drop waterfalls in all of the world. It's called Kaichor Falls.
Wow.
But beautiful country if you ever get to go there. The Amazon is also there, so just all kinds of species and things like that. Both of my parents are ministers, so I grew up in a Christian home, which I'm so thankful for. I always tell my parents I'm just going to drop my kids off by them and then they can just raise them. I feel they did a great job with my sister and I. But once we moved here, I always just wanted to be a physician, loved taking care of people. My grandmother lived with us and I really enjoyed just caring for her and helping her out. On the side, I did also like newscasting, but my mom scared me and said all the newscasters, the newbies, got sent to all the countries that had turmoil and war. Oh, yeah. So I was like, let's not do that. But you'll find out. What I do now, I kind of get the best of both worlds right now because I'm a physician and I also get to do something kind of like newscasting too, like broadcasting. So then we moved over here, pursued my dream as a physician. Of course, I always wanted to be a pediatrician, but when I did internal medicine, I also loved adults. And then I was just glutton for punishment. So I became dual boarded in both internal medicine and pediatrics. So I get to see everybody, which I'm so excited and I feel so honored to do. Met my husband in medical school. So we waited to have kids. When we came out, both of our families have twins that run in our family. So I was like,
that's
scary
I got this.
I was like, I can do this, twins, we waited so long. And We ended up, I'll never forget the first ultrasound we got. We was like, oh, it's twins. And we're like, yeah. And then he said, wait a minute. There's another one hiding back here.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So found out we were having triplets, 2 boys and a girl. And we were just so excited. My mom makes fun of me. She said, you prayed so hard that God was like, shut up and stop asking me for kids. And here we are in St. Louis. My husband's family lives right outside St. Louis. He's an only child, so I wanted to make it known what an amazing wife I am because I moved to St. Louis because of him. So my family's in New York, but I also have ties to St. Louis. I trained at Mizzou, MIZ, baby.
Okay, all right.
So some of my heart's in St. Louis. I've really enjoyed being out here. Great people, very supportive, love my patients. And after having my babies, like Mr. Arnold talked about, they've just really motivated me to build a legacy for them that they can not only say that, my mom is a great doctor, but I also do other things to remind them that, you don't have to get stuck in a box and just do one thing that you went to school for. You can do other things and impact people on a different level and help people leave a legacy. And as you mentioned, I have my show, my Dr. Mom show. I've written some books. I have a publishing company called Alea Publishing with my sister. And I also do wellness coaching for individuals. And also I really enjoy corporate wellness coaching, especially now with the pandemic, with burnout, mental health. So I really do enjoy that also. And just speaking, I love just getting out there and talking about preventative medicine and leadership and women. I'm not a feminist, but I'm all about moms getting out there.
Right.
So
how many hours are in your days?
Ooh,
I know it.
the last time I checked, not enough.
Oh my gosh. It takes a lot of organization.
It does.
To do all that.
It does. Yes. I always say a planner and a prayer. Is every morning. That's what I need every day. I make sure I pray every day, ask God for strength to make it through, because definitely I don't go through days without hurdles.
Amen.
Then my planner and my sticky note. And just for you guys listening out there, don't be hard on yourself if you don't check everything off on your to-do list. We're only human and, things happen. Just prioritize. I think the main thing is prioritize. Just get the most important things done that you have to get done for that day, and all you can do is do your best at the end of the day.
Now, I was going to ask you this question that you talk a lot about your parents online and even here this morning. So, what did your parents really provide for you that helped you in your journey in this persistence and kind of developing this story of being an independent woman?
Well, I think 2 things. One, I saw my family essentially give up everything. If you're not familiar with third world countries, you're either rich or poor. There's no middle class in third world countries. And, we were wealthier there. And my parents had a store, almost like equivalent to like a dollar store. They essentially gave up everything to move to the United States so my sister and I could get a better education. And I think that's huge for me, that I just saw the sacrifice that they made for us. That's number 1. Number 2, they've always just lifted us up in the sense of they were always a team and included us in everything. And anything we ever tried to do, my parents never said, maybe in their minds they were like, oh yeah, I can't do that. but they never said, you're not going to do it. They've always just encouraged us, even up to now. Like, when I was coming here, I was like, pray for me. I'm going to be on the show today. And, their first response always like, you got this, baby. My dad calls me lollipop. It's always just encouragement from them no matter what. And it's always, you can do it. And I think that's so important for parents to, from a young age, to instill into their kids, because if you set those standards and give them those affirmations to live by, they'll, even if they hear other stuff. I mean, I remember applying to medical school, and there were people who said, why are you applying to medical school? Like, you probably won't even get in. You're not, I mean,
hate that kind of stuff.
I know, just negative. And there's always going to be negative people, but my parents and family have always been so supportive in anything we've done that that's definitely, and it's from being little to being an adult, even up to now as an adult, whatever I put my hands to do, my parents have just really been so supportive.
Encouragement goes a long way, and even on individual kinds of situations where you can really crush a child, or you can, even more than encouragement, give them confidence that you are behind them. A situation I'm aware of that a pastor's daughter got pregnant, and they were like, we're not going to hide this. We went to the front of the church, and they said, hey, this is what's going on. He put his arm around her, and that gave that daughter confidence that, hey, my folks love me no matter what happens. And even like if a child has an accident with the car, hey, we can replace the car, we can't replace you. That sounds like what you experienced from your parents, and it's really needed nowadays rather than put downs and why didn't you do this, or not living up to a certain kind of standard.
Right.
Yeah, so important. And I think part of that is, my mindset. Our mindset is so important. And the way my parents have brought me up is I don't go in thinking I can't do it. In my mind, I'm like, I can do this, and I feel that motivates you. If mentally you're like, I got this, then you're set to do it. And instead of saying, well, I don't know if I can do this.
Don't forget, if you have to leave the radio, you can listen online. We're streaming at kwrh929.org and radiostl.com.
Yeah, her parents could listen, and we're at home.
Oh,
They could be listening right now.
Yeah, we're listening live right now.
Yeah, right.
Why medicine? I know you said that, from an early age you always wanted to be a doctor. What was the kicking point for that?
I think the biggest thing is it's very special to be a steward to people. And I think it's a privilege to serve people in that realm when they're sick. It's a very vulnerable time for people when they're sick. And I just think there's something very special about that relationship and being the one that people come to when they're sick or they need something, and then helping that person, I think, in another dimension that somebody else can't. And there's a special bond, I feel, that gets built between a patient and a physician. And I just like that, building that rapport and having that trust, and people just leaning on you and knowing that, hey, you truly love them and care for them.
That sounds interesting, because a lot of people do a lot of different vocations for a lot of different reasons. And there is a lot of comfort if you got a physician that's, man, when you're not doing well in the hospital, that means a lot.
Yeah.
It really means a lot.
It does. If it's a calling or something like that, really does make a difference.
Yeah.
In how people treat others. And
so you talk about evidence-based medicine with a holistic approach. Talk about how that works and what are some of the benefits, what are some of the drawbacks, and remind your folks that this is not advice given by a physician over the radio that you should take. You should always investigate things like that. So we want to give that little disclaimer about that.
That's
but talk a little bit about the holistic approach and evidence-based medicine. What is that?
Yeah, so evidence-based medicine, so as practitioners, it's researched medicine, especially in the United States, it's huge that we don't want to put a practice out there that hasn't been researched and done and tried. So when we talk to our patients, we say, hey, the evidence-based part is this. Or you may say, hey, some studies show, but it may not be solid evidence, but you just say, hey, it does show this, but we don't have a solid evidence behind it. We practice evidence-based medicine because then it would be cowboy medicine if there wasn't evidence-based medicine, because everybody would essentially do their own thing and what they believed was right. So evidence-based medicine in the medical field just keeps it consistent between different providers. The holistic approach for me is and this is every physician has their own take on this, but I personally am not a pill pusher. I feel if there's something people can do like lifestyle modification, I'm totally all about that, unless I speak with my patients and I say, unless it's something that's emergent, like if somebody has really high cholesterol and a family history of early heart attacks, I'd probably say, hey, let's get you on some medicine, make changes because we don't want you to have a heart attack or a stroke. But if you have somebody who overall is pretty healthy and they could make some lifestyle changes, no family history of early heart attacks, I'm like, hey, let's give it a try. Let's give 6 months, do some different approaches. I know some people use supplements, and again, that's something, speak with your provider because there's a lot there. Like supplements can interact with medications you're on. Mm-hmm. People don't realize medications go through our kidney or our liver, so you have to make sure that's okay. There's just a lot that people don't know, and that's where when we say the phrase FDA approved, supplements aren't quote unquote FDA approved, and it's just because there's no specific reason to use it. It hasn't been that evidence-based medicine that we talk about. Those haven't been researched. That is just based off of claims. So that's the difference. I think holistic for me is also bringing in not only physically helping patients, but also making sure they're in a good mental state. You obviously can tell, I'm a believer. I feel like our spirituality also plays a big role in our health and our mental health, and then just your emotional state. So really treating the patient as a whole and making sure everything is okay. Not that you just have a 6-pack,
What?
I don't have one.
I lost that one a long time ago.
Yeah, really. You had one once? I never had one.
Everybody's shaking their head.
I know. Never had one. I know. She had to go there.
If we sound muffled, folks, we have our masks on.
Yep.
We are mitt masks.
Even though I got a shot, I still have my mitt. Did you get your shot, doctor?
Yes.
Good. Yeah, good. How about you? Have you gotten yours?
No, I'm not. I'm on tier 3 or whatever it is.
Are you? Okay.
Yeah,
you'll be next summer. Next summer. Not this summer, next summer.
This summer,
just kidding.
July 1, I'll kind of go up on the range.
There you go.
Of course, apparently by May 1st, we're all supposed to be eligible.
I hope so. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, hopefully once more start coming out. I think
Right.
the demand is so high compared to the supply.
Right.
Yeah, we will talk about that in the second hour when we do.
We will. We have a
Carson pandemic moment.
Yes. You're not bitter.
No. So
everyone here has had their shot, but Arnold, folks.
Yeah, there you go.
He is bitter. Okay.
So it sounds like everything that you do takes a disciplined life.
Yes.
So
how can you be disciplined with 3 kids?
Yeah,
with triplets.
It's an oxymoron.
Okay, it is. Okay.
How do you do
They're
all
on
that?
a routine.
Are they?
For anybody who has kids in general, but if you have multiples, that's always my first advice. Stick to a routine because you're still the boss when they're little. So they always, from the time they were born, ate at the same time, took their naps. So now, it's just clockwork.
But they're all the same age.
Yeah,
that's
I know.
At the same time.
Yeah.
That's what I have.
Kids a little tricky. I try to be positive. You know when they hit that age where they're like throwing everything off the little high chair. I was like, I only have to go through that once.
Right.
Once. Everybody's just going to do it once.
That's a good thought.
That's positive.
Instead
spin.
of all of a sudden, one's done and then the next one's up to do it. So I always try to think of it that way. The good part is, we have the triplets, and I think it definitely would have been harder if we had children before that. So this is all we know. We're ignorant in that sense. So
That's your normal.
This is our normal, exactly.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
So yeah, we probably wouldn't survive one child after that.
No.
Well, yeah, and that's a great point because sometimes when you look at different families and you look how families think that how their family is raised is the way everybody else's family is. And until you get a chance to interact and understand, you're like, man, my family was really weird. Or, man, my family was really, I was fortunate compared to my friends or something like that.
Right.
But if that's what you know and you're growing up, that's what it is.
Yeah.
So you've got some books, Women of War, This Is How I Fight My Battles, The Tripsies Me, which is about the triplets, and a 30-day devotional journal, M.O.M. Talk a little bit about those books, Dee.
Yeah, so the first book I published was my devotional, M.O.M, for Mom, and that stands for Meditate, Overcome, Motivate. And, I just felt that was laid on my heart after I had the triplets. I had a lot of support. Our families came, helped us. My husband was very supportive. but I still felt like I was a little lonely. There I was like all day. I swear, for you moms out there, right? Like you wake up, all you're doing is feeding, pumping, feeding. And my husband would come home, I'm like still in my robe. And I'm like, what did I do all day? What happened? And I almost felt a little like lonely. It was so strange because even though I had so much support and help, I was like, what is this? And I just felt God laid that devotional on my heart because I felt, if I have support, like I have all this support and I feel this way, imagine like a mom who is a single mom or who doesn't have support like this.
Right.
And essentially it's a 30-day devotional where each day I just have an affirmation to remind us of who we are, that we're beautiful, we're intelligent, we're strong, we're amazing, with a verse that goes with it and just a little story. And I just challenge, each day just has a challenge that how can we overcome an obstacle using that affirmation for the day? And then the last M, how can we motivate those around us to do the same, overcome whatever they're going through? So that was my devotional. And then I did the Tripsies Me. That was more of a fun book. I had a lot of fun writing that because that one rhymes. And that one is about the baby. So just tons of fun there. And I was excited because that one became an international bestseller.
Oh, wow.
Who cares about me? Everybody just cares about them.
Right.
Don't worry about my other stuff.
Where's the priorities here?
Get it right.
And then Women of War, Peace in the Midst of a Storm, that is a book collaboration that I spearheaded. It's 14 women, each one of us just telling a story about a struggle or a hurdle that we've been through. Again, just encouraging people, just whatever battle or, circumstance they may be in, they can overcome it. And the same thing for This Is How I Fight My Battles. It was another book collaboration that I was a part of, that again, just speaking of a battle or a hurdle that you've been through and just to overcome that and not put your guard down, and we're warrior princesses at heart.
That's a good way to describe that.
Warrior princesses.
And it's not Xena either.
No, don't tell my wife any of this.
No. She's not a princess. She's a queen.
Oh, yeah, she is the queen. She is the queen.
It.
I know.
I love that.
I know it.
So did the show come out of the books?
So after I had the babies, really my show came first because after having my own children, I was kind of like, oh, now I understand why these moms were like, I do this. And, I'm like, no, you need to do this. Now I'm kind of like, it's okay. Go ahead. You can do that. But again, just my expertise as a physician. And then now at that point, being a mother, I was like, I'm going to start, a show for fun and just talk about different topics. And as I mentioned before, I really enjoy educating people about preventative medicine. I think it's unfortunate. I think medicine, we've lost trust and respect from the general public. And a lot of people are turning to like blogs and Facebook pages and things where it's not experts. It's kind of just people who are randomly saying things. Right. And really just to try to bring that trust back. And I think if people are better educated, they can have a better conversation with their doctor and a better understanding of why we do what we do. So that's how the Dr. Mom Show came about. And then afterwards, it was the books. And again, as I mentioned before, with my Dr. Mom Show, if you're listening, Oprah, next female Dr. Oz right here.
There you go. And you can find those books underneath your chair right now, folks.
Yeah, right.
You get a book. You get a book.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for the car. I want the car.
I know. So that's how it went. Then out of that is when I started to speak. And people like found me and said, we would love for you. We saw your show. We would love for you. And really, a couple things I do. Some people have me speak on health and wellness. Others more leadership. And then like women empowerment are probably the three fields that I hit on with speaking. So
I see TED Talks.
Oh, yeah, that's on my list.
TED Talks in your future.
Yes.
I believe it. Yep.
On my bucket list.
I know, and we're gonna
There
say
may
we
be
knew
one
her
coming
before.
up.
It'll be detox.
We knew.
Detox. I love it. I'll start my own one.
That's right.
All right. Yeah, that's
Why
good
not?
too. That's true.
So I know you talked a lot about, transitions and health, and my question deals with eating healthy, and you have something you call clean eating. Define that and help us understand what that is all about.
Yeah, so I feel, unfortunately, we're all so busy And a lot of times we have a tendency to just grab what's most convenient, which turns out to usually be very processed or ultra processed foods, which ultimately aren't healthy for us.
Nope.
And
Nope.
clean eating. And this is one thing with being born in a third world country. We killed our chicken before we ate it. When you went to the market, you're like, fish were still alive. Mm-hmm. And it's so insane how there's a different taste fresh food versus food that you buy and the chicken's frozen and things like that. So for sure there's things added to it that changes the taste, but we also know that it affects our cells in our bodies. The more additives there are, we found there's an increased risk of cancer with processed foods. And clean eating is really just keeping it is exactly what it is, keeping it as clean as possible, where you're not getting those ultra processed foods, but doing things that we recommend cooking things from scratch. If you're making, for example, meatballs, try not to get frozen meatballs, but make your own meatballs. Mm-hmm. Because again, so many things are added to it in order to preserve it. Mm-hmm. And it's so processed to keep it that ultimately it's not healthy for us.
And you have a toxicity quiz that you give people. I'm kind of curious about this, like how many grams of radiation have you consumed over the last week or something like
so
that?
Much.
So
I glow at night, so
I don't need to turn on the light. I just get up and walk around.
Right, because I'm glowing. Okay.
So without kind of giving that away, because that's kind of part of a program that you do, what is that kind of like?
Well, a lot of it is based on sugar. We love sugar here in the United States. We love it. But we have found that sugar is associated with so much inflammation. And when there's inflammation in the body, there's such an increased risk of your immune system not working like it should. Right. So you're susceptible to more disease processes. We've also found just with that inflammation, there's an increased risk of obesity, and then it's harder to lose weight. And we all know that obesity, again, is associated with so many other disease processes. So it just becomes this vicious cycle. So one of the big things with the toxins and detox is very sweet and sugar focused, because we get a lot more than we really think we do. Even if you're trying not to eat a lot of sugar, if you really took a look at it, there are a lot of carbs and processed sweeteners and things like that in what we eat and drink.
And milk, I hear, is not the greatest for older folks like me.
Well, you got to watch
Notice
when you drink it.
Notice he didn't include me in that group right there.
Well, it's got sugar in it. I just and I used to love. I mean, I knocked down the big glass of milk, whatever. It's like we're out of milk again. We need more milk here because I've just had 3 glasses of it. So I've been starting to cut it out. But milk is really not good for older.
Yeah, I mean, you have to watch now, like soy and almond milk. That's a little bit more natural sugar versus, other milks.
Processed.
And of course, watching. A lot of people still love like whole milk. Like my sister, she's going to kill me, but she loves whole milk. Wow. And I keep telling her, I'm
like
you
cream
gotta,
in our house.
Yeah, you got to get away from,
the
whole milk and do like skim or at least 2%. Even with kids, usually 1 year, if everything's okay, we would recommend whole milk just because then they're walking, burning calories. But once they hit 2, we recommend no more whole milk.
Right.
And of course, if there are kids who suffer with obesity, we don't recommend whole milk. So, so whole milk is like a treat.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. That's right. When we don't buy the half and half, for the coffee.
Oh yeah, we use Irish cream for our coffee, so we just kidding.
So, when you talked about sugar, I remember listening to a nutritionist who said he puts the bowl of sugar on. He suggested putting the bowl of sugar on the breakfast table and letting the kids get non-sugared cereal, and if they want to put on as much as they want, because they will never put on as much as what's in sugared cereal.
Stop it.
Yeah.
That's
terrible.
Crazy. That's terrible. That's terrible that they're able to sell that stuff.
And really the incidence of, I should say, is there a link between more cancer and intake of sugar products or over-carbing yourself?
Yeah, I don't necessarily think there's been a direct connection between carbs and the sugars itself. I think it's more so the sequelae of, hey, if you're eating processed things, sugary things, that inflammation that I talked about, which increases
Gotcha.
that risk. Yeah.
Gotcha. Then you have a 5-day hormone detox program.
That's for my women out there.
You guys need a detox about other things. But
Yeah. That's yeah.
and so you're
Why
really
do you
looking
go on
out
these?
for, moms from before they give birth to kids, during, after, and then as they age. And
That's right.
That's where this one would come into play.
Because, I mean, just as women, our hormones are all over the place, as you guys know.
Oh yeah.
And
Yeah,
then
yeah,
especially...
yeah. Yes, they are. I'm
Notice
sorry.
I didn't- notice I didn't
just
say
keep
anything.
Thinking of my wife. Yeah. Maria's wonderful.
Yes, Queen Maria.
Yeah.
That's right, Queen Maria.
She is Queen Maria, right? Okay, sorry.
No, yeah, so there's just that fluctuation, and especially if women are about to start menopause, going through menopause, we also know that there's a lot of fluctuation there. And again, we know that what we take into our body, again, just kind of going back to these sweeteners, really change that function and change some of those hormones like cortisol and things like that, which can affect our hormones at the end of the day.
Wow.
You had an interesting statement under your motivational
man.
area.
Here we go.
I was looking at, you said half the workforce is unhappy. So my question is just a very short one. Why?
Yeah.
I think part of that is because a lot of people end up doing things that they don't necessarily want to do. And I think a lot of people end up settling and just kind of stick with it and become stagnant. And they think to themselves, well, if I go back to school, I have to do this, or I have kids. If you're in a situation where you have kids and you're like, now I have my children, am I going to be able to study? And I think people settle for things, but I'm a true believer in making yourself uncomfortable. It's okay to be uncomfortable, because if you're comfortable, that may be a warning sign that things are getting a little stagnant. It's kind of like when you're married. And all of a sudden you're like, ooh, I got to look cute.
Yeah.
All of a sudden you get more comfortable.
Right.
And part of one thing, one of the talks I do for moms is to remember, we got to look cute too,
Yeah.
We have to make sure we're taking care of ourselves. Just because you're a mom or a wife of 25 years, if you've been married, it doesn't mean that you go slacking off, because we know from research that if people comb their hair and look good, that builds up your self-esteem. It builds up your mood for the day versus if you're looking all shaggy,
Right.
your self-esteem and your mood won't be as high for that day. So we know that. So I think that is important. So going back to your question, I think some people just settle and don't necessarily pursue their dreams like they should.
And does that play into, I know you mentioned this earlier in the interview, does that play into people's physical ailments? And I know you mentioned emotional, spiritual, mental, physical kinds of balance and how those interact with each other, and one out of or several out of balance with the other. Talking about how people may not be happy where they are. What does that do to you physically or emotionally, spiritually, those kinds of things?
Yeah, I mean, that'll be a Debbie Downer. If you're not happy, those people will be at increased risk of depression, anxiety. And, we know even the Centers for Disease Control, they show us that 1 in 5 people suffer from some mental health illness. And then I thought this was crazy that 1 out of 2 people at some point will have a mental illness disorder. So essentially, we're here. So one of us at some point will either have depression, anxiety, something, even like substance abuse because of things that are going down because of your mood. So again, that all comes together and plays a role with each other. If you're not happy, there's a higher chance of depression. Then again, just that vicious cycle of not taking care of yourself, not eating well, kind of doing what's quick and easy, not exercising, not being motivated to get up and go.
Right.
So it is a bad cycle to get stuck in.
Yep.
Do you see that those discussions, those talks that you have, the feedback that you've gotten from the books and the show, have people said, yeah, this is really helping me, or it was a kick in the pants, or, that might be for other people, but you don't know my situation's so severe, or what's the range of responses that you've gotten?
So I think there's probably like 3 ranges. One, there's people who are like, this is awesome, I'm making changes. I mean, one big thing is just when people meet me, they're like, if she can do it, I got this. And that's what I really like. That's the impact I want to make, is that when people see that, if you push, that you got this, if you persevere. So you have those people who I meet, they've read a book, heard the show, they're like, I'm going to go out there. That was motivation enough for me. Then you get those that you talked about where they're like, yeah, but my situation, this is happening. And that's why I'm a big proponent of having a mentor or a coach, because sometimes you just need that accountability partner to be with you and to, whether it's you're talking to somebody every week or once a month, to keep you just on your toes that, hey, somebody keep you accountable. Have you done this? You said you wanted to, let's write a book, for example. Okay, our goal is for you to get done with a chapter. Did you finish that chapter? It's kind of like exercising. I always say have a workout buddy, because we're all tired after work. And if somebody doesn't push you, it's really hard to go out there or wake up early to work out. So the same thing. So having a coach or a mentor, and then you just have people who will never do it. I mean, in reality, we all know there's just people out there who, at the end of the day, who are lazy, who aren't motivated, and just won't do it. And, my dad always says you can take the horse to the water, but you can't drink the water for the horse. So, so you can only do so much.
Right.
That's right. And that mentor on some of those things could or could not, should or should not be a spouse.
I think it depends how your spouse is doing. If you have a spouse with the same attitude as you, let's say you're like, if I'm tired, I'm not going to work out. So I will say my husband loves to work out. He was a gymnast. He played sports, swam, did a whole bunch of stuff. So he loves working out. And sometimes I'll come home, when you're with the baby, she's like, oh. But he'll be like, no, you got this.
Yeah.
You can do this. And even the babies now that they're 5 now. So they'll get on the ground and work out with me, or they'll say, Mom, are you working out today?
It's wonderful.
So he does great with me, helping motivate me in that sense. But if you have a spouse like that, that's great. If you feel your spouse will be like, yeah, let's just skip it today. I would say find somebody else.
Let's have a beer. Come on.
Yeah, let's just hang out.
All right.
Yeah, I would say find somebody else.
Yeah, right.
That's great.
I know it.
Let's skip this one today and next week and the week after.
Get those meatballs out of the freezer.
Yeah.
Can you get some more half and half?
Yeah. Yeah, right.
Whole milk, baby.
That's it. This is wrong.
Some closing encouragement that you would give listeners.
Yes. So one, again, I spoke on it a little before, is that, remind yourself that we're not perfect. So give yourself permission to fail, to mess up, because it's okay. And I know you're probably hearing about me and listening to me talk, and you're like, oh, she's got a perfect wife. Yeah. Nope, not at all. I promise you, the things that I've done have not come easy. Mr. Arnold asked me, how do I do all this? And, sometimes I stay up late, I know what time the babies go to bed, and it's a sacrifice I make, or I wake up early. I don't watch a lot of TV. My husband and I, we do not watch a lot of TV. So it's sacrifices like that, that you make. So give yourself permission to mess up. It's okay. But I think at the end of the day, if you know that you've tried your hardest, you can look back and be satisfied with that. And I think the other thing, not to sound lame, but how they say, shoot for the moon so you can land among the stars. And I know some people raise their eyebrows when I say I'm going to be the next female Dr. Oz, but you know what? I'm going to, even if it takes 5 years, if it takes 20 years, you know what? I'm going to do it. I'm just going to keep on pushing. And I think if you have a dream, it doesn't matter how old you are, how many kids you have, if you have to make that school program instead of 2 years be a 4-year program, you can do it. And then you'll be so happy when you're done with it, and so proud of yourself after you've accomplished it. And not only that, but you've built that legacy for your kids, and your kids will grow up and know that they're able to do the same thing because you did it. And of course, as Dr. Mom always says, wash your hands, kiss your kids, love your families, and say your prayers. Good night.
There you go.
My God.
And you know what's important
Drop
about
the
that?
microphone.
Yeah.
It's done. We're done.
You know,
How do you
what's,
follow that?
what's so valuable with that is that the time with your kids goes like
That's
that.
right.
Nobody understands that, do they?
They
Unless
don't.
you have
Along
kids.
the way, and you have
No.
to enjoy those wonderful times along the way,
Oh my goodness.
and know there's going to be some potholes,
Yeah.
and know that there's going to be some smooth pavement.
Yeah.
But to enjoy your kids after they're out of the house,
Oh,
if
my
you have not laid that groundwork that she talked about,
Right.
your kids may not want to be around you.
No, that's true.
You know?
And that's so important because this is how crazy it is. I prefer to hang out with my parents than like go on a trip with friends because that's just how much I love my family. We just have so much fun. And my dad always laughs at us because my sister and I will get together and we'll just start laughing and we can't even get words out because we're laughing so hard. And he's like, what is going on over there?
Right.
But, you know, you're just having tons of fun. And, you know, even my husband and I always say to him, I'm like, you know, I want to be just like my parents because I didn't have that desire to do other stuff if it was between my family, hanging out with my family and hanging out with friends because I just had such a blast with them. And I think it is tricky, that balance to, you know, still be a parent, be responsible because, you know, kids have to respect their parents.
They have to. They have to.
They
Kids.
have to. Yeah. You see, my dad used to like give you that look and you better know it's going to get bad. It goes fast, that look.
That's right.
I've been working on the look.
I was just going to say, you gave me that look. I was like, holy
I don't have it down, though. I mean,
You're pretty good about that, Dr. Mom.
My husband makes fun of me. He's like, when they get in trouble, he's like, I'm not your mom. I'm not going to give you 3 warnings. So he's definitely the stricter one out of the two of us. But again, I just think it's important to have that balance.
Yeah.
Balance is great.
What a great word. Balance means so
Yeah.
much. I know. Yeah.
We've had a great conversation with Dr. Delene Muchalek. She's a mom, wife, physician, author, best-selling author, speaker, coach, and the Ms. CEO Author of the Year. We didn't get into that. We'll have to do that on another show. We'd like to have you back.
I'd love to.
And I hope you have a great National Working Moms Day.
Thank you so much.
I hope the kids or somebody empties out the dishwasher for you.
Or loads it.
Loads the dishwasher. I know. It's
One of the two.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my husband's awesome. That's one thing. Such a blessing that he helps. No qualms.
It helps having a partner who is a partner.
That's right.
And not somebody who works against you or...
You're all making me feel bad. Queen Maria bought a little sign that says clean, dirty.
I love that.
Thumbs up, thumbs down.
Yeah, right.
Or did you turn it this way, Mark?
And she's working on that look that the doctor has.
Oh, yeah. It's tricky.
Sorry.
And don't forget, she has a podcast, Dr. Mom. Dr. Mom Podcast. That's on Apple Podcast or your favorite podcast platform.
That's right.
And
Dr. Mom Show. Check it out.
Dr. Mom Show. There you go, folks. So check that one out.
We appreciate you listening to this episode of St. Louis in Tune. Take time to look at the show notes on the website for everything that was mentioned on this episode. St. Louis in Tune is produced in cooperation with KWRH 92.9 FM and Motif Media Group. For St. Louis in Tune, I'm Arnold Strickland.